Welcome to the Jake Rouse Show. Today I'm joined by Katie Kretz, Executive Director of the Multicultural Community Resource Center, or MCRC. For those of you who are not aware, MCRC provides a variety of educational, social, service, child development, housing, and employment programs to the Latino, refugee, immigrant, and new American populations in Erie in a client-first and focused manner. It was founded in 1975 as the Hispanic American Council with no administrative funds and operated with volunteers and 2 paid staff members. They changed their name to MCRC in 2009 and today have over 50 employees in their office on East 10th Street at the former Penn Schoolhouse. In 2025, Katie was recognized as the Nonprofit CEO of the Year by the Nonprofit Partnership and also as a woman making history by the Mercy Center of Women. I'm excited to talk to Katie today about the past, present, and future of refugee resettlement in Erie and in the nation. For those unaware of Erie's storied history in refugee resettlement, I'm excited for you to learn of our community's long-standing expertise in this work and what a great impact it has made on our community. Thanks for joining me for a listen and a learn. Hope you enjoy. Katie, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, that's great. First of all, we have to start off on a very personal front. You have a state champion in the house.
I do have a state champion in the house. Our daughter, Taylor, is a competitive bowler, not a sport that many people consider a sport, but
it's becoming more and more.
It is, and she just recently won the state high school championships here in Erie, or actually it was out in Lancaster, but she's the first one to do it in Erie County and the first one for, of course, McDowell. She bowls for McDowell, so
Woo!
Exciting times right before she heads off to college.
Well, I think and she's going to Nebraska?
She is, yes.
Okay.
University of Nebraska at Lincoln.
Super exciting.
Yes, yes.
So a couple of things. I thought I saw the other day, did she roll a 300 in the Times News Open?
No, she was actually the youngest competitor and the only female, or the highest qualifier for women in the Times News Open. But no, she rolled her first 300 for high school this season and then backed it up 2 weeks later with another 300 and an 800 series. She broke her own record with an 824 series. So she had a pretty incredible senior year.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Cool. Thank you. We're very proud.
I always tell people, I said, you can win this invitational and that invitational, but when you're a state champ, that stays with you the rest of your life.
It does.
Doesn't matter if you're football, basketball,
absolutely.
swimming, tennis, hockey, you're a state champ.
You're a state champ.
So
through and through.
That's
so
awesome.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
It's very cool. They're very excited for her and very excited that she's going to go out, and it's going to be quite an adjustment to go out to Nebraska.
It will, yeah.
But Nebraska's doing good in the basketball tournament.
They are. They just finished, what was that, 2 nights ago, and they're going into the
Sweet
16.
Yeah.
So first time in the history of Nebraska for the basketball guys to ever be part of the Sweet 16. So that's pretty darn cool.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Let's shift to your day job.
Yes.
And many others' day job in the community.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's I've cited as we've gone into the new administration, there was a change in the approach of dealing with refugee resettlement and immigration-related issues and individuals. The community here got hit very hard by that because we have a long history. And I think let's just go back to maybe, and you can give the more full history, but even just for MCRC, a little bit of the history of that entity and just your impact.
Okay.
And let's speak to that first and foremost because it's not a fly-by-night organization. It's an entity that's been here for some time and doing great work.
Yes, we are a grassroots organization. And really what that means to our community is that we've been around for a while. We celebrated our 50th year anniversary last year. We were founded as the Hispanic American Council, and we were really really founded to be able to connect people who were living in our community, who were part of the community but didn't speak English and they were Spanish speaking, really connect them with resources and be a place that was safe for them to come to if they needed help, and really found a way to be able to communicate in with these folks so that they could be productive members of society. They could learn the language, and they could really have a place to be able to establish their life. So that was kind of the beginning, pieces of the organization. In the early 2000s, our organization really pivoted. We still served the Hispanic population in large part, but we also began serving the refugee community. And like you had mentioned, Erie is a refugee strong community. We have a huge population of refugees who call Erie home. And we have since then supported refugees in a wide array of services. When I came to the organization in 2021, we did basically everything to support a refugee with the exception of resettlement. And so resettlement is actually picking up the families from the airport, creating,
there's other entities in town that have that as their mission.
Right. So USCRI was one of those entities and Catholic Charities.
And that's the United States, I have it written down.
The United States Committee for Refugee Integration, I believe, is their...
Yep. No, it's USCRI is U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants.
Sorry about that. And so when I came into the organization, I realized that there were other ways that we could serve our community, and Refugee Resettlement was one of those programs. So in early 2023 is when we became approved to become a refugee resettlement agency. And that's a big part of what we do. We still provide all the other services, from language services to immigration services. We are the only accredited agency in the area that actually is contracted with the federal government to provide legal services to people who are looking to adjust their status once they come into the United States through the legal pathways. So we kind of just do it all. Anything related to refugee and immigration. We are an agency that does that.
So let's just talk about the differentiation between a refugee and an immigrant.
Sure. And this is very timely. I just did a presentation on this at Mercyhurst University the other day. An immigrant is somebody who plans on coming to the United States for the intent of living in the United States. And so that can be done in a variety of ways. If you are an immigrant, you're coming to the United States to make it your home. A refugee is somebody...
Is it... I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you say that, but could an immigrant be coming here to go to college? Or is it really to become, to live here?
So it is to actually live here. So somebody who would come here to college would be considered an international student.
Okay.
So the term refugee is actually a legal status given to somebody by the United States government. They have proven that they have, they're in a place, they're living in a place that is not safe for them to reside anymore. And a majority of these families have been kind of forced out of their home because of war, persecution, religious reasons, you name it.
Can we go back? And
Sure.
I apologize, but
Sure.
I want to make sure that I fully understand this. So when you say they have to prove that it's unsafe,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you know stories, but I'm just curious. They are not living where they were living. They're now somewhere else. They could be in a neighboring country,
Correct.
possibly.
Correct.
Who are they meeting with to prove? Is it an international group of folks, or is it a United States?
In most cases, there are safe places for them to go, and it is an organization that works with the United States federal government, but it's actually an international agency that they go to basically indicate that they're fearful to return home. And so there's a significant process that they have to go through. It's pretty in depth. A lot of the verifications that they have to go through. A majority of the people that we serve have been in the immigration process to become a refugee anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 years. So that's
15 years.
Yes, and many.
I thought you were going to say 5 to 10 to 15 months.
No.
Wow.
A lot of these families actually, like you had mentioned, go to different countries. So they've either been living in another country for that period of time, or they've been in a refugee camp.
Are they? I know this sounds, but again, I'm just trying to pop any balloons in my head that are ignorant. But one of them would be: are they choosing the United States, or are they being assigned to the United States?
In most cases, they don't really get to choose where they want to go. They can indicate if they have family who's come to the United States, but certainly it's not always a choice where they end up.
So we've had pockets from different countries over the years. Is that determined? How is that determined? How does Erie get up a population of Bhutanese?
That's a really great question, and it's one that I'm not overly familiar with as far as how the United States might decide where these pockets of people go. But essentially, how it works on our end with MCRC is we are an affiliate of our National Resettlement Agency, which is ECDC, and there's
what's ECDC stand for?
It's the Ethiopian Development Community Council.
Oh, okay.
Or Development Council, and that is a national resettlement agency. And so we are contracted with them to provide resettlement services. And essentially what happens is all of the 10 national resettlement agencies meet on an ongoing basis, and then they determine who's going to receive which cases from the different countries. At least that's how it was prior to this administration.
Okay. So the entity, so MCRC, with its affiliation, I'd assume, given that it's Ethiopian, that the populations you've been dealing with have been predominantly from African countries?
Actually, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
So far, I'm striking out on every front of my understanding of this.
It would tend to make sense on paper when you look at it, but no. I mean, we have received a wide array of populations from all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the refugees they've gone through this extensive process. They've been vetted on a number of levels, and they finally is it a family that would get approved, or is it individual by individual, or is it both?
It's really based upon how they make application, how a family might indicate how they are considered a family. So in the most traditional sense, how it would work is there is a principal applicant, which is typically the husband in a majority of the cases that we see. And the principal applicant would then indicate who his family members are with his wife and children. And so they would come over as a singular case, but they would each have their A number established to them, which is their alien number. And that's how they would actually come over, as one case with multitude of people in one case. There are instances where there are individuals that come over. In the case of what we're seeing right now with refugee resettlement really being only allowed in one region of the world right now, and that's South Africa. These South African people are typically coming over as single individuals. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Have we had any new South Africans come into the community?
We have, yes.
Oh, neat.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
They're tremendous people.
So if you're in another country, it's no longer safe for you to be in your country. You're awaiting to be relocated to another country. What are you doing for 3 years?
That's a really great question, and it really depends on what country you're in, or if you're in a refugee camp. Many of the families that went through refugee camps just do what they can to survive in the camp.
I mean, are they working in these countries, or are they precluded from working?
In some instances, they have been able to work. Other instances, they can't. And then, of course, if somebody's in a refugee camp, then they're, like I said, they're just figuring out how to survive from day to day.
So it's got to be kind of overwhelming when they finally get the green light, and then they are boarding a plane. They're flying into the United States,
right?
And then at least recently, I'd say since you've been at the helm, they're sometimes flying into Erie and other times flying to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Buffalo.
Right.
It's not magic. How does it happen? How do they get here? I mean, what happens once they arrive?
So the travel time for our families is quite extensive. Many of the families are traveling anywhere from 16 to 24 to 30 hours. And you're right. I mean, they're coming into a country they've never been to. They're navigating an airport system that they've never navigated. So when they do fly into the multiple airports that it takes to get them here to Erie, typically they have somebody on the ground assigned to them that can help them get from gate to gate. But when they come here to Erie, they don't know what they're walking into. That's why I've been very purposeful in how I want to receive our families. So when they do arrive, we have established a welcome team that welcomes them at the airport. Other organizations, locally and nationally typically just send a driver and maybe a case manager, but I don't want that for our families. I want them to really feel a warm welcome when they come in. So I usually go, my husband comes with me. We typically have a welcome sign, try to get people from their community to come welcome them. And of course we have a case manager that speaks their language, and anybody else who wants to be part of that welcoming team.
And it's got to be exciting and overwhelming for everybody involved.
Sure.
And then when they land here, you've got a place for them to at least temporarily house. I'm
Correct.
Assuming for 30 days or something while they've figured out. Is that part of what you take care of?
It is. So part of what our responsibilities are as an agency is to make sure that safe and affordable housing is identified and secured for them. And as you know, in Erie, sometimes that can be difficult. Luckily, we have found several landlords who want to support our mission, and so they work with us specifically to help house our refugee families. And what I mean by supporting our mission, they understand, kind of what we're doing as an organization, and they don't require things like a security deposit or a background check or a credit check, because none of these families have established credit, right? So that's been helpful in a time where, other landlords may not be so understanding. We've been very lucky to have these landlords.
And so, because of some of the controversy, let's just be explicit, the process by which someone is a refugee coming into the United States, they've gone through the criminal background check in those other countries.
Yes. And there has been extensive vetting. I know people want to argue with me about that constantly, but I can assure you that the families that we've received have gone through a variety of background checks from a multitude of different agencies.
So I want to get more into kind of how they get integrated into the community. Before that, English as a language.
Yes.
Are they given a heads up, like, you're going to be going to the United States, you'll be leaving in 3 months, and then there's some effort to give them some basic English, begin the process of learning the language? Is that part of it, the pre-process?
So the way it's supposed to work is once they identify where they're going, the family is supposed to receive cultural orientation wherever they are before they get to the United States. And that's kind of, this is what to expect from the agency receiving you. This is what's expected of you when you get there, getting language access, getting employment, and self-sufficiency are all of the necessary steps in order for you to be successful when you when you go to the United States. And so we have noticed that there is a little bit of inconsistency with the information that's received when they are overseas, wherever they are. So we kind of reiterate the cultural orientation again when they get to us. When we receive a family, of course, we always make sure that they feel welcome when we get them into their apartments, that they feel safe, that they have a warm meal, they have beds to sleep on, that we've shopped for them, that it feels like a home. But beyond that initial welcoming, we do sit down with them and we talk to them about, the importance of learning the language if they don't already have language, understanding that the next step is to get that job, because there aren't, these handouts that people claim that they receive. The initial support, financial support of a refugee is very minimal. Coming into the United States, when I first started this, refugees were getting $1,300, a one-time stipend, $1,300 payment that they would receive, where they had to set up their life, they had to get an apartment, they had to get everything for their apartment and be able to become self-sufficient. And then they also had to, after being here for 6 months, they had to pay back their travel expenses. So when you do the math, there's really not a lot of support from a financial standpoint that these families are receiving, which is why it's so important for us as an agency to make sure that we hit the ground running with them, that they understand what's expected of them, and that we do our part in making sure that they find success in all that they do.
I know that you have... Okay, so let me go back and before I forget this question. When they enter our country, their new country, what is their status? I mean, in other words, they aren't on an education visa, a work visa, and they're not a U.S. citizen.
Correct.
So what is their... They're just, they continue to be a refugee?
Their legal status is refugee. And they will be a refugee until they obtain their green card. And so once they have been in the United States for 1 year, then they're eligible to make application for their green card.
Okay. How long do they have to be in the United States to go for citizenship?
They have to be here at least 5 years.
Okay.
Yep. So once they've been here for 5 years, then they can take the citizenship test, and if they pass, then but they would also have to go through the green card application, and then they also have to make sure that they don't get into any legal trouble, because anything on the legal end of things could preclude them from being able to obtain citizenship.
So I think it's fair to say that a refugee coming to the United States, let's just say coming to Erie, is a deeply motivated individual.
Yes, absolutely. They're deeply motivated because they
don't have a country to go back to.
They have nowhere to go back to. They didn't choose to be here. And so they know that this is their option. Like, this is their only option. And these families, like you said, are highly motivated and they want to be successful. Now that they are given an opportunity to kind of start over, they want to do and be the best that they can be. And I think the important thing to realize, too, is there are a lot of people that we receive as refugees that are highly educated, they're highly skilled, and almost none of their certifications in their home country are transferable to the United States. So if you come over as a trauma surgeon, as an attorney, as a midwife, any type of anybody with any type of medical background.
Right. Congratulations, you can be a janitor at the hospital, but
exactly.
You can't be a medical personnel yet.
Yes. So, and that's kind of what we're finding with our new families that we're receiving from South Africa, is many of them are highly skilled. The fortunate thing for them is they already have the language. So the language barrier is not an issue. But certainly, when we're talking about skills, they're highly skilled, but a lot of the jobs that they had there, they may not even have here in Erie, Pennsylvania. So, those are areas that we're looking to try to, connect with employers and make sure that they understand that we've got highly skilled people to fill positions for them.
I want to talk one more about the adults, and then talk about the kids.
Sure.
So, for the adults, do you have a growing list or a regular list of employers that welcome and hire refugees?
We do, yes. We have
I mean, I'm sure you could take more.
Oh, for sure, always. We have a dedicated job developer on our team, and he maintains our list of employers that are willing to work with our families. And I do think that, with the different populations that we're starting to receive, that list could probably grow.
And so, gosh, there's just so many questions.
Oh.
So many questions. I mean,
Right.
I just think about, given that you have to pay back your airfare and
Right.
you have $1,300, an able-bodied man and woman both need to go to work,
Right.
because they're going to be at the entry level,
Right.
in all likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And so, childcare.
Yes.
I'm not talking for infants, but what if
Right.
they're 5 and 6-year-old kids?
Right.
How does that get handled?
So the good thing with Pennsylvania is there are eligibility guidelines for wage earners and what families are making, and so those families would be eligible for a subsidy through ELRC, which is
Early
helpful.
Learning Resource Center.
Correct. So but of course, like any other family,
That's for childcare.
That
just
is
so
that is
everyone
for,
understands.
Yeah, that is for childcare. And it's not a complete. You get 100% of your childcare paid for. You have
you still have a cost,
copay.
right?
Yeah, there's a weekly copay, and you're expected to pay that, because if you don't, then you lose your funding. So certainly there is that for assistance, but as with any family, as we continue to grow our families in their jobs, as they make more money, then that support disappears, like it would for you or me.
Is it 100% of the population that comes in ends up residing in the city of Erie?
Yes. So part of a strategy that we utilize with our families is that in order for our families to be able to kind of have zero excuses for, not being able to participate in any of our programming, is that we try to get them to reside as close as possible to our organization, so they're within walking distance. So kind of a 1 mile radius of our of our campus is typically where we try to resettle families. Obviously, that's not always possible based upon availability of housing, but certainly it's something that we try to do. Now, there have been instances where we've successfully resettled a family, and they are doing tremendous, and they're self-sufficient, and they've moved out of the city. But for all intents and purposes, for the people that we are serving as we resettle them, they are in the city.
And maybe how long are they kind of your clients?
That's a great question. So the initial resettlement period is a very short period of time. It's anywhere from 30 to 90 days, depending upon what they need as the program is written right now. But they are eligible to receive continued support from us from a social service aspect for up to 5 years from the date of entry into the United States. So again, the social support services is just it's case management. It's helping putting them in touch with resources. It's working with them in job development. None of it is direct cash assistance. That is not what we provide. And so that's another thing that I try to educate people is it's, what the services that we're providing are not handouts to our clients. They are simply additional case management support to help them get to where they're going.
Mm-hmm. Is there, has there been over the years, or is there a movement to do a little bit of paying it forward? So refugees that you helped in the past, and that you breed a little bit like we welcome and would love to have you come back and volunteer and help us.
Yes. And it's actually something that's kind of already understood within the communities that we serve. We've seen it a lot with the Afghan community, and I'm just specifying them just because they're on the top of my head. They are very good at making sure that they help take care of the people that have come from Afghanistan. Even with the new families that we're receiving from South Africa. In fact, today We had a community event for the families that we've resettled, and they welcomed other people that had been resettled from South Africa. And we're just creating some space for them to be able to convene and to get to know each other. But that they've also already been part of the welcoming process. Like last week at the airport, we had, 2 people we had just resettled 2 months prior come to the airport with us to receive the new family. So it's really beautiful to see the community that we're building.
Cross-cultural.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's go to first, real out of curiosity, beyond just your agency. For folks listening, countries where we've had that off the top of your head, where we've had folks, refugees who have come here and have settled here in the community. Can you give it a quick list of?
Sure. So since we've been resettling folks, we've had people from Syria come over. We've had, of course, South Africa. There's been a large population from Afghanistan. We've received a lot of people from Ukraine. They didn't necessarily come over as refugees, but they were part of a protected class that were admitted into the United States. But we have folks from Bhutan, we have Eritrea, Colombia, Ecuador. I mean, a whole variety of places from all over the world. So
that's really cool.
It's quite vast.
So we get to, I want to go back because I said I was going to ask about this. The kids. I just think about young kids. That's going to be one of two things. They're either going to be like out of their mind excited,
right,
or they're going to be frightened. And I would venture that most of them are the latter.
They are. There's a significant amount of trauma that these families have faced that we know nothing about. And we only begin to discover what they've been through once we spend some time with them. But it's amazing to see how resilient these kids are, especially, coming to a country that they didn't ask to come to, in a community that they've never been. But the beautiful thing about building the community is that, the kids really just get into a groove. The Erie School District, while it has challenges like any school district, they do a phenomenal job at making sure that these children are welcomed. And making sure that they're putting them in contact with other kids that look like them, that speak the same language, and that can welcome them with open arms. And so I'm very happy with the work that the Erie School District has done, making sure that our kids feel welcomed. And then on top of that, when we have after school programs, MCRC has a number of after school youth programs that allow safe spaces for these kids. Gary Horton deals a lot with the New American community and the youth, and he's done a really great job in making sure that they have a safe space. So.
Gary was just on.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and but we didn't talk about that work. We talked about other things, and I said you have to come back. So that's
I
great.
mean, there's a lot of wonderful things that I think that a lot of community partners are doing to help support the youth. We could do a lot better, and we've had some recent discussions about what that could look like. But certainly as a newcomer, it's got to be difficult for some of these kids, to see what they've seen as a young person and then to adjust to a new life. It's a lot for anybody to have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I know that people say kids are resilient. I totally agree with that. However, they're still kids, and that's not, maybe learn resilience later in life, not as a young child. But
I think it's important. I mean, I know you and I are very big on mental health advocacy. My own child has had her struggles of mental health, and I can tell you that with the appropriate treatment and the appropriate supports, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's what we have to continue to talk about. And it's important. I mean, you never know what any child has gone through. And, you have to be able to create that space for them to be able to feel like they can open up and talk about it.
Absolutely. And, you bring up a very important point. It's depending on the age of the kids, but definitely for the adults, the trauma that they've experienced. I mean, there's the whatever happened in their home country. that would be traumatic and leaving there, because clearly I've never been in a situation where I've feared for my life.
Right.
And I think most of the people in the United States have never feared for that, nor have ever felt like we have to get out of here or we are going to die, or we're going to be imprisoned or whatever. So that's hyper traumatic there. And then you go to another country, and then you're in a camp, and it isn't necessarily the safest. That is not necessarily going to be the safest venue, and you could go through a whole other range of traumatic experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
There. So for the adults that come over here, is there a pathway for them to get guidance or support and counseling? In the midst of all of this, is there anything on that level, or is it really focused predominantly on the kids?
Well, I think as a community, we've had these hard discussions and talking about, what support really needs to look like for adults. I think we're responding to those needs, but certainly the system isn't built yet to support the needs that probably exist. And the other piece of that too is that there are so many cultures that we deal with that it's taboo to talk about mental health. And so what we're trying to do is provide education to our families, especially the adults, that it's okay to talk about struggles. It's okay to have struggles. In fact, it's better to talk about it and get support than to withhold everything. And so that's part of the programming that we've incorporated in some of our youth development, is creating spaces for their parents to come in and provide them education from outside resources to talk about the things that maybe nobody else is talking to them about, especially if they are somewhat isolated from being involved in the school of any sort. So we're trying to, as an agency, promote mental health. I know that Meds Clinic, who also is a big refugee provider on the physical health, is also expanding services into the mental health field. USCRI has a wellness program that they're providing to parents. So I think as a community, we're recognizing how important it is to support families that are struggling with mental health, but we still have a long way to go.
MED stands for Mental Health Education and something.
It is Multicultural Health Evaluation Delivery System.
That's it.
Yes.
MHEDS. I know. I just always try to spell them out.
Yeah.
I think Agnes Piscaro ran that for years.
I think so. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
God, going down
memory lane.
Long
time ago.
Tell me about your budget. I don't know this. How do you meet the need? How do you get paid? Your whole team, because I saw something on your website, and it could be different now in light of what's happened at the federal. But 50 full-time 50 employees, or is that part-time? And
we have just over 70 employees. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and that's between full-time, part-time, and then we do have some 1099 contract workers that work with us through our language services department.
Okay.
But our budget, I'm proud to say that we've grown our organization. So since I came in September of 21, our budget was just at like 1.8 million. I've been able to grow the budget by adding programs to just under 4 million. And so that sounds like a lot of money, but it's not.
You got 70 bodies. You got overhead.
It's really not a lot when we talk about all of the services that we provide. I've been very purposeful in making sure that we write our staff wages. That is something that was weak when I came into the organization. So I've really focused on making sure that we're paying living wages for our staff, because that's very important to me. But we've also recognized the need to diversify our funding, because as you see at the federal level, when you have money that stops coming in from the federal government, you have to have ways to be able to continue to support your agency. So we've been fortunate in the fact that we do have a variety of contracts and a variety of funders, but certainly looking at additional ways to continue to support the families we serve.
So contractors. So do you get some funding from the state as well?
We do. So we have some federal contracts that are technically federal funds, but they go through the state, right? We have some county contracts. We are contracted with the Office of Children and Youth, which is a county contract, but it's state funded, right?
Sure.
And so we also have some education funding as well through the Department of Education. We have like pre-K counts program and then a refugee school impact grant program that's also funded through the Department of Education. Yeah.
I mean, it takes resources to execute what you do.
It does, absolutely.
And the key is to, when you're diversifying those streams, is not to diversify away from your mission.
Exactly. Yeah, because you can have
challenge.
mission drift, right? Yeah. And so that's something that we've been very mindful of, making sure that, yes, we have to continue to diversify what we're doing, but we don't want to drift away from what we are doing as an organization. But, a play that we're going to continue to build upon, it's something that we continuously have to do, is provide housing for our families, whether it's through refugee resettlement, or we have clients that are looking to, get into better housing, or, they're making more money so that they can, they have the ability to kind of up their situation by moving into better housing. So with the opportunities at the state level for funding for creating affordable housing solutions, we have talked about what we're going to do as an organization to be part of the solution to create affordable housing for our families as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think you should be cautious.
Yeah,
because it could be a very powerful, candidly, it could be a powerful economic, supporter for the overall mission.
Right.
You just have to know that what you're getting into,
Absolutely.
that you're not a landlord as much as you are a service provider.
Yes, we don't want to get into the business of being a landlord. We certainly want to be a service provider, but we also want to empower our families to be able to contribute to their situation, but then help give them a hand up into home ownership. So, there's a lot of ideas that we're kicking around, and certainly we're going to involve stakeholders in those discussions as far as what that's going to look like.
One of the, this is just me riffing now, so bear with me.
No, you're good.
But during the early stages of President Trump's second term, and it was clear that certain funding streams, when DOGE was out there whacking away at different streams, we were obviously very concerned here in the city. Because the refugee population has been an additive aspect of our community in so many ways.
Driver, right?
Yeah, so many different ways, from workforce to cultural diversity to just entrepreneurship. And one of the variables that statistics that came up through a collaboration of you was the home ownership.
Yes.
So talk about that, because one thing that strikes me that helps those refugee populations buy homes is that they're coming here with nothing, but they're also coming here with no credit.
Yes.
Bad credit.
Correct.
They're not coming here with credit card debt, which is kind of the hidden variable that can quash someone buying a home.
Sure.
But let's talk about their home ownership. I think people have no idea how successful they've been over time.
They have been highly successful over time. I think
in buying homes.
In buying homes, I think the statistic was out of the large number of refugees that have been resettled in Erie, like 42% of them over time are homeowners now. And I mean, that statistic is mind-blowing, right? I mean, you think about people who have lived here.
It's extremely mind-blowing, especially because I believe Gary, when he was here the other day, in the African-American community, the percentage is single digits.
Yeah, it's like 5%, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that speaks, again, to how things are set up for our families when they come into the United States. So and the support that they receive. And I think that's the big part of where, we can argue that the supports that we're giving our families are working, right?
But let's just be clear, because if somebody's listening, if I was devious and I cut that, it's like they're not getting homes because of the support you receive.
Right.
It's that the environment that they are put
it's
in.
The nurturing support.
Exactly.
It's not the financial support.
That's right.
It's the nurturing support, the ongoing case management from the time that they hit the ground. We're doing budgets with them. We're talking about, this is how much money you have. This is how much money you're not going to have after you pay your rent. Incorporating values into what they're doing every day, understanding that the first thing that you do is you pay for your house. You always have a roof over your head. The second thing you do is you make sure you have food on the table. All of the, the core values as an agency that we impart to our clients that we're providing services to. And then understanding, too, that credit is a big part of that. So, when we talk to our families about paying back their travel arrangements, that establishes their credit in the United States. So that's the first thing that they start doing as a resident of the United States, is making sure that they pay back their debt obligations. So they're coming into the United States with that debt of their travel. And after they've been here for 6 months, they start paying that back, and that establishes their credit.
What kind of number are we talking about? Just an idea.
On average, it's like you or me taking a trip to Italy, right? How much is that going to be? About $1,200, anywhere from $800 to $1,200 per person is what we're seeing for travel. So, if you have a family of 6 to 8 people, you're well over $10,000 in debt by the time, you've set foot here in the United States. So it's important.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that they can set up a payment plan. As long as they stick to it, then they're golden.
Yeah. And that builds the foundation of their of their credit here in the United States, and that helps open up doors.
Yes. But then the work piece of it too. Making sure that they work and that they're not getting into trouble with their rent or facing eviction. I think that's a big part of where people really get in trouble is, if you have evictions on your credit, it just kills you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's yes. So let's talk about a couple of things, and they're not meant to be controversial, but
Sure.
I think about raising the minimum wage.
Yes.
And from your perspective, or from the clients that you serve, that would be very significant.
It would be significant. So on a monthly basis, we have to report to the state what our average job rate is as far as wages. And so our average job
this
wage,
is individuals employed that are kind of on your sheet.
Yes. So in our employment program, those that we've found jobs for, the average wage is $14.64. $14.64. So it's not bad, right? It's not terrible. But when you talk about living wages, when that's the sole breadwinner of your family, then it shapes things a little bit differently. So
no question. I guess the is that a mean or a median? Is that like the midpoint number, or is that the blended average of everybody?
That's the blended average of everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you're right. If you're the breadwinner for the house,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be struggling.
Right. Absolutely.
And so even with 2 breadwinners at that number, you're going to be struggling.
Yeah.
But you through discipline, and you can make that work. And
Correct.
clearly, if you have over 40% home ownership rate over time,
Mm-hmm.
it's about selecting priorities and making that a
Right.
priority, and Erie being a cost-effective place for
Yes.
people to have an opportunity to buy a house.
Exactly. And so, we're excited to see there's local banks that are working with our families. They're working with the community at large, incentivizing families to be able to put some money down on a home and really move forward with home ownership. So I'm glad to see from a kind of an overarching viewpoint that people are starting to see that people just need a little bit of a hand up to get into a home. And we've got businesses stepping up to help families, not just our families, but anybody in Erie.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the quote unquote controversial discussion, or your perspective on there. because I've read the stories, but I haven't heard it firsthand
Mm-hmm.
from you about the county and utilizing the county jail system, the county prison
Right.
as a detention area,
Right.
potentially,
Mm-hmm.
should ICE's activity come to town and they want to detain.
Right.
And so give your perspective on that in light of everything that we've just talked about.
Right.
I think it will help give a framework around. And again, I'm not taking a side on either on this.
Right.
I'm simply presenting it because there were some, I believe, that just didn't want to have a contract
Right.
with ICE in any capacity because they felt that would be, I shouldn't say what they felt it would be. I don't know.
Right.
Go ahead.
So when I came in here, we talked about not having any conversations that are going to put me in the hot seat, and I said, "Don't worry about it. I've already been there." So, and
it's
people,
not meant to be. It's you
Right.
expressed your opinion on behalf of the population that you serve. I think
Absolutely.
it's completely right of you.
So when the county was discussing the termination of the ICE rider contract to their marshal contract of the Erie County Prison being a place of detention, a temporary detention for folks, what I took was. Let me backtrack because I always kind of fumble this a little bit. We, as a community of providers to the refugee community, are constantly in collaboration with each other. We're constantly talking. We're finding out what's happening in other states. We're finding out what's happening locally. And so we had just had a discussion at the state level where providers were indicating that their refugees were being detained by ICE agents because of a change in policy that happened back in January. And that change in policy was
January of 26.
January of 26. And the change in policy was that refugees who came into the United States during a certain time period, that they had come in during a certain time period. They were concerned with the amount of vetting that those people may have received.
That they may have been rushed in. Is
correct?
That
right. And so what was happening was that if
I'm not mistaken, that would have been towards the end of the Biden administration's term.
Correct.
I do remember some of this being discussed,
right.
that there was kind of like, we think this is coming, so let's get these bodies in.
And so on the surface, it sounds like an argument that could have some merit, right? Where maybe perhaps these folks that were let in during this time period didn't go through the same vetting process that people let in a couple of years prior had. Maybe they didn't go through a full vetting that others had. And so while on the surface it kind of makes sense, I suppose, the issue became that if people were being stopped and they didn't have their green card, or they couldn't prove that they had made application for their green card, that those folks were beginning to be detained. There was a memo issued by the Department of Homeland Security that essentially said, yes, this is how this process is going to be. If you're a refugee and you're in the United States and were supposed to have already applied for your green card and you haven't made application or you haven't received your green card, then we're going to detain you and we're going to question. We're going to do our further vetting process. So on the heels of getting that information, we brought together stakeholders within the community to talk about this. What were we going to do?
These stakeholders would be USCRI,
MCRC, USCRI, Catholic Charities, Counseling and Adoption Services. We had Meds Clinic there. We had the mayor's office there. We had local immigration attorneys there. We had Christina Vogel was there. And so what we were discussing were strategies that we could implement to help protect our families that came here through legal pathways. One of the things that I said was I gave a promise to these families when they were concerned about being deported. The one thing that I would always tell my families is, you came through legal pathways, you're safe. You don't have to worry about this. with them deploying Operation Paris, that completely changed everything. And so through our meeting, our stakeholder meeting, one of the local immigration attorneys said, hey, want to just bring this up for discussion. It's been helpful to have Erie County as a detention facility because I have access to these families, usually within 24 hours of them being detained. I've been able to see them and been able to support them. And so all of this just happened together and kind of coincided with the county's vote to terminate this ICE rider. And so as we were continuously discussing, how important it is to keep families local, I felt it necessary for somebody to speak up. And anybody who knows me knows that I stand up for things that I firmly believe in. And, I was hired to protect these families, and protect these families I will. So that's kind of how my op-eds came out, was just, providing a different perspective of, even though we're detaining people, keeping these families close also gives us the opportunity to service them as well, to make sure that they're being detained lawfully. And if they're not, that we can have representation there quickly to make sure that that due process happens. And
what was the feedback like that you received?
The feedback that I received from people that took the time to understand it was very healthy. I think my frustration came in the fact that I wasn't asking necessarily for a yes vote or a no vote. I was just asking for us to stop the vote completely, and let's talk about this further. Let's talk about what's going to happen, because in my estimation, there's roughly 1,200 people that have not adjusted status yet and could be subject to detention.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing we glazed over, which is people listening to this may have thought that we're talking about, on an annual basis, that we're welcoming in 10 or 15 people a year.
Right.
And the reality is that between MCRC, USCRI, and Catholic Charities, there was, anywhere from 750 to 1,200
correct
people coming in per
year
right. over year.
Right.
It's a very significant thing, especially for correct. The city of Erie. So,
so let me just clarify that the people that didn't have adjusted status, it wasn't that some hadn't adjusted status. I will say that, but a lot of them had made application for their green card. But part of the issue is there was a pause in green card applications. So they weren't even processing them. So the delay in receiving green cards has been through no fault of the families that our collective group has been serving. And so that's where, we have to be very careful and making sure that the community understands that, through no fault of their own, people are being detained. And that's not why they came here. They've already demonstrated that they can't return to their home country. And now they're basically having to kind of make their claim again and prove to our federal government that it's not safe for them to return to their home country.
And these are individuals that there should be ample documentation at the federal level
absolutely
in place already yes. of their situation that can be easily accessed.
Absolutely. And I think my biggest my biggest disappointment, I think, with the federal government has been with regards to our Afghan population, especially the men and women who have been providing interpretation services for our military. Those families that were either left in Afghanistan or they came here and now are subject to revetting, how is this fair to them? I mean, they've already given up everything for our federal government and our military. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me, I suppose.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
They did vote on it,
mm-hmm.
and they did approve it, or no? Because I thought it was under review by the county executive's office. There was some contractual reviewing going on, I thought.
So my understanding was that there was a movement to table the vote, and that was voted down. And then following that was the vote to terminate the ICE rider, and that did pass through Erie County Council. So my understanding is it is on the county executive's desk. I'm assuming it's just going to be signed off on. But I mean, and I understand it was a highly emotionally charged subject. I get that. But I think that the bigger picture that's being missed by a lot of people is just because we don't have this ICE rider doesn't mean that ICE is not going to be here in Erie. They are going to continue enforcement.
Yes. And I sent you a message because I understood where you were coming from, which is these are individuals of our community.
Yeah.
And ICE has proven that they will come in and they will go to work wherever they want to go to work. And we want to make sure that anyone that is detained, my personal feeling is that I also, and I'd mentioned to you, would love to have seen that our Erie police force work collaboratively with them because they know the community. And I think they could help minimize. I'm not looking to deport people.
Right.
I'm looking for people to be treated with
dignity,
and respect, and care and concern for the fact that they are here illegally. Let's make sure that they're treated appropriately. If they are detained, let's make sure they have access to legal counsel,
and their support systems,
and their support systems, and then hopefully we get it quickly, resolved, and they're back into the community, and we move forward down the road.
Right.
But if detention now leads them to being shipped to Youngstown or Chardon, because those might be the closest detainee facilities, it opens up a door that I feel I understand the frustration and the anger that has been dedicated towards how ICE is operated.
Right.
So I'm not.
Yeah, that's not a question.
I'm not sympathizing on that front.
Right.
But in this case, it's kind of like I understand that the mindset may have been let's not make it easy for them.
Right.
I get that.
Right.
But I thought that you were very true to yourself, true to the people that you serve in your job by stepping up and saying, we need to think about this from a different vantage point. And I think you did a very good job of articulating that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, one of the things that I really tried to hit home was that by not having this cooperation and a place to keep these folks that have been detained, it just adds further complications, to the legal process for anybody who is a refugee and could potentially be detained.
And what I worry about is that the having them close. I just see this as a very complicated paperwork situation that can clearly lead to someone being detained way longer than they need to be.
Absolutely.
And so having that closer to home, to me, is like we might be in a better position to untie those knots.
Right. So we're trying to do things proactively. We've created refugee safety cards that we're encouraging our families to carry on their person. With all of the documentation and all the information that an ICE agent might need, and we're teaching them things about saying that they're here legally in English, that their documents are in their wallet. We're encouraging them to travel with all of their documents that they would need. So we're hoping to be able to mitigate some of the risk for them. But as anybody knows in this, the nature of the landscape that we're dealing with, that may not be even feasible to have any dialogue with an ICE agent. Yeah.
I think it's really important to kind of note what you just said, that if someone were to come upon papers or, you find a wallet, where do you turn it in? You find papers, and MCRC, Multicultural Resource Center, would be a perfect place to turn those in, should you find them.
Absolutely.
We've talked a lot about your work here, and I want to kind of finish on a happier note or a fun note. You randomly drew 5 cards out of the deck.
I did. I was very careful.
You have no idea
careful.
You didn't see what they were, but I'll tell you what you drew. You drew the the first was the 4 of clubs, and the question that's tied to that is, what's something you do regularly? I can't say that word ever. Regularly. I just got to slow down. What's something you do regularly that energizes you?
One of the things that I really appreciate doing is talking with my husband and reflecting on how he and I can be better human beings for each other, for our children, and for our respective jobs. So he and I, every single night, we have a hot cup of tea, and we kind of download our days and talk about what we could have done better and how we can just be better people, either by giving more grace, having a softer heart, being a little bit more understanding. And so I find a lot of peace in being able to have that dialogue exchange every night with my husband.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is a great way to energize yourself.
It is.
And each other.
Yes. Yeah. I wake up every morning, every day before I leave for work. He gives me a kiss on the forehead and tells me to make a difference. And, I've been very lucky to have him in my life.
That's very beautiful.
Thank you.
We're going to go from that very thoughtful and deep answer to what is your favorite unhealthy food to eat?
My favorite unhealthy food to eat. I love I love a couple of things, but I like puffin corn. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's called puffin corn. It's Snyder's makes it. It's kind of like popcorn, but it's the puffy kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like puffin corn.
But does it like cheese caramel?
No,
you know how like
just
some
regular puffin corn. That's my weakness. I love puffin corn. Puffin corn and Haribo gummy bears.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It's strange, but that's it. That's my weakness.
I like it.
Yeah.
Puffin corn. Buy it at your local Do you have to buy it
Country Fair has it.
All
Go
right.
to your country fair.
Which is even more dangerous that it's that accessible.
It
if it was like at Aldi, then you'd be like, okay, I got to go to Aldi to get it.
Puffin corn, Snyder puffin corn from Country Fair.
All right.
Yep.
Stock up, Country Fair. Little deeper question.
Sure.
Describe your relationship with change. Are you pro-change, anti-change?
I am very much pro-change. I'm a firm believer that, the only way for us to grow is to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that is change. And so I'm constantly looking at ways how we can do things either at a higher level of quality, whether it's in the work that I do at MCRC or the work that I do within my family and my community. So I think that, too much stagnation just is that. There's no growth when that happens.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's something you think is overrated?
What do I think is overrated? Wow, that's a really good question. There's a lot that I think's overrated.
It could be a food. It could be a movie. It could be a show.
Sports cars are overrated.
Like fast cars?
Yeah. I mean, like my kids, they love F1, and I'm all about a great race and super fancy cars. But at the end of the day, with the stuff that I see day in and day out, I think people spend way too much money on their cars and not enough time with their families. Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay, the last question. I was so glad. I came up with these questions with myself and getting others' input, but and then AI, of course, was helpful. Yeah, it wasn't as helpful. I mean, it was fun, but this one I've always wondered. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Did you receive or have you given the birds and bees talk?
I have given the birds and bees talk. I've had the distinct honor of being able to have that discussion with my stepchildren, who I don't call my stepchildren. It even says it feels weird saying that out loud. But making sure that people are prepared for the next stage in life.
Was it a joint presentation with your husband, or was it?
So it was.
Did you flip a coin?
So the beauty of our marriage is that we are very supportive of one another. So it was a joint discussion between the two of us with our son, but I handled the girls.
Oh,
yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Did you get a birds and bees talk?
I didn't really get a birds and bees talk.
I didn't either. I had 5 older brothers.
Yeah.
And I think they were just like,
yeah, let
these
them handle it.
dudes got to take care of it. Yeah, which is probably not the wisest thing in the world.
Not, probably not. Our youth and
but it's a special moment.
It is.
That's a special moment. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's that's a transition.
It is,
especially with mom and daughters, and any parent. It's like, okay, we're here. This is a real conversation.
Well,
we're gonna have.
I mean, when you're talking about moving to that next phase of life and having a safe person that you can discuss things with, whether it's a beautiful thing or a negative experience, I think that it's important for you to have that relationship with another person to be able to have those intimate type of discussions.
I want to close with a question for you.
Okay.
And the question has to do with I went to your website, mm-hmm. And I just thought that this was one of the I'm not going to say I just thought that this was a very thoughtful vision statement. Mm-hmm. We believe that all people hold the ability to create opportunity for their future and for others. Through this vision, MCRC will help its clients attain their goals.
Yep.
That's very beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of what we do pertains to achieving goals, whether it's, small little milestones or huge achievements with our families. And regardless of what those goals may be, it's our job to make sure that every single person has the opportunity to achieve the goals no matter what they are, whether it's, getting a job or, trying to get your child to school every single day. Whatever that may be, we're here to support those families and making sure that they have what they need to be successful.
I'm going to read that again before it's over because I just loved it. I thought it was really powerful, especially because when you read that vision statement, mm-hmm. There's no indication you're working with people.
Right.
They're
just people.
Yeah.
They're
period.
People.
Yeah.
People, period. Absolutely.
I love that. How can people help MCRC do its work in the community?
That's a great question. And, most people always say, let's donate. And while obviously we love to receive any type of financial assistance, I think the biggest thing that I really want people to know is to understand the work that we do and to be able to share it with other people in a way that we can continue to educate our society, because there's been such a negative connotation surrounding immigration that it has done a huge disservice to the work that we're doing. And, the biggest ask, I think, for me is just, take some time to understand. Maybe say hi to your neighbor. If they look different than you, go say hi.
That's right.
It's okay. It's okay to be different. We're all different. And when you think about the fabric of our Erie community, we all came here at one point because our ancestors decided to make that trip, mm-hmm. right? Our trips look different. Some people came here by choice. The families that we served didn't necessarily come here by choice. So, just maybe understanding what immigration law looks like, what our families have faced, and, just give a little bit of grace.
We believe that all people hold the ability to create opportunity for their future and for others. Through this vision, MCRC will help its clients attain their goals. If people have listened all the way through, then they know the work that you're doing, and they should be very proud of that you're doing it here in our backyard, right, for our fellow citizens. And really grateful that you took the time to share with us today.
I appreciate you inviting us in. And, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my incredible staff. I talked about having 70 people. We are 70 people strong at MCRC, and every single one of us has a purpose. So I'm grateful to them, our board of directors, our volunteer board. They're a wonderful group of people, and we couldn't do it without everybody's involvement. So thank you for having us.
Success isn't an accident.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everyone,
it.
for listening. Talk to you soon.